Hey guys, welcome back to the video. I'm Luke, an ACA qualified accountant, having passed all of the ACA exams at the first attempt. I know a lot of people struggle studying towards the ACA qualification. The content is very technically demanding and it's a real challenge to balance client work with studying and your social life. So I want to talk through my study approach, my revision strategies, and how I blended everything together to get through the qualification successfully. I want to run through some tips and some advice to help you guys get through all of the exams, pass as many as you possibly can at the first attempt, and get the ACA qualification. If you're currently working through the ACA, then I do make specific videos for each of the individual exams where I go into a little bit more depth and a little bit more detail on how to perform well on each individual paper. But here I want to be a little bit higher level and think about more holistic tips and some more holistic advice to help you perform well across the board and pass every single exam. So first of all, what actually is the ACA qualification? The ACA qualification is a professional accounting qualification where you study towards multiple exams which cover a broad range of topics from accounting to audit to financial management, tax, law. There's a broad range of topics that are covered across the syllabus, and the journey is broken down into three levels. You have your certificate level, which is your introductory level, which is where you accumulate all of your knowledge. There are 6 exams. These are on-demand papers where you sit them on a computer and you answer predominantly multi-choice based questions. And again, this is all about accumulating knowledge, which you'll be able to apply at the next level, which is the professional level, which are longer exams, which usually cover 3.5 hours. And in these exams, you'll need to provide written responses. So at the certificate level, it's more multi-choice and more numerate. At the professional level, you're going to need to, at certain points, write longer form essay-based responses to the questions that you're presented with. And finally, you have your advanced level, which is the final stage and final layer of the qualification. This requires more applied thinking, and it's arguably the most challenging stage of the qualification. It requires you to write long-form responses to case studies and practical business scenarios, which really test everything you've learned up until this point on your journey. With that all in mind, let's discuss some tips and some advice to help you ace the qualification. So my first piece of advice, and probably the most important piece of advice that I'm going to give in this video, is around time management. Time management is by far and away the most critical skill for ACA exams, no matter what level you're at. People often fail these exams because they run out of time and leave questions blank. You cannot walk out of an ACA exam having not completed the paper. People who fail ACA exams are so much more likely to fail than people who complete the exam sitting. It's so important to get into the habit of practicing mock exams under timed exam conditions so that you know exactly how much time you have for each question within the paper, and so that you've got practice under your belt sticking to those time allocations. In an ACA exam, you need to be really strict with your time management. If time is up on question 2 of a professional level paper, you have to move on to question 3, even if you don't feel like your answer to question 2 is perfect yet, or you feel like you've got more to write. It doesn't matter. You're not trying to get 100% in these exams. You don't need to be perfect. Most exams have a 55% or 50% pass mark. So you need to be picking up all of the easy marks across all of the questions in the paper. If you leave a question blank in an ACA exam, you're potentially leaving easy marks on the table. If you're in a certificate level exam and you miss out the last 3 multi-choice questions, those could have been the easiest 3 questions that you would have faced in the exam. So you really need to be strict with your time management. This is, again, by far and away the most important piece of advice that I can impart upon you in this video. Don't aim to be a perfectionist in ACA exams. Aim to attempt every single question in the exam, because the easy marks are going to be spread out across the paper. So practice doing mocks under timed exam conditions. Don't bother practicing mocks if you're not doing them under timed exam conditions, because you need to get that practice in early to see how you're performing under exam style conditions, and so you can tailor your exam strategy accordingly. When I speak to candidates who are struggling with the qualification, what always seems to be the root of the issue is poor exam strategy. In ACA exams, you don't need to know everything. You don't need to be a technical expert, know every single accounting principle or every single tax rule that you're presented with in the curriculum, but you do need to be really solid when it comes to your approach to sitting the exams. Your exam strategy needs to be on point, and you need to be able to finish the exam in the time that you're given, because if you don't, you're leaving easy marks on the table and you're far more likely to fail. My second piece of advice to performing well in the ACA exams is to prioritise question practice. A big mistake that candidates often make when it comes to preparing for ACA exams is spending far too long in the workbook or in their notes going over topics that they're unclear of, rather than practically applying their knowledge and doing question practice. For early exams like accounting, it's really important to understand the content, but the best way you're going to assimilate and accumulate knowledge in these exams is by doing question practice. You need to understand how is the examiner going to test these topics, what are exam questions going to look like, how am I going to tackle the kind of questions that I'm going to be presented with. All of this is going to come through question practice. So question practice is absolutely essential when it comes to preparing towards these kind of exams. It's going to help you spot patterns in the kind of questions and topics that are heavily tested. It's going to help you understand how exam questions are structured and how you go about answering different types of problems. And it's also going to help you spot, identify and strengthen your weaker areas, because you may go through the curriculum and feel like, oh, I'm actually quite strong in area A, but your question practice might actually uncover the fact that you're actually not that strong in that area at all, and maybe the questions are more challenging than you anticipated them being. So to do well in these exams, you really need to be on top of question practice. Learning the theory alone is never going to be enough. Across all of the exams and all of the levels, you need to be doing tons of question practice to really ensure that you're comfortable and competent with all of the topics that are covered in the syllabus. The other thing I would say about question practice is get started early. It's never too early to start question practice, even if you've just been through a topic once. Start early, because it's not ideal to be beginning your question practice just a few days before the exam, because if it doesn't go that well, it can really stress you out and could lead to you underperforming on exam day. So do start early. It's never too early to start question practice. You learn so much from practicing questions and reading through mark scheme answers. So yeah, definitely prioritise question practice. That should be at the core of your study and revision framework. My third piece of advice to doing well in the ACA is to not underestimate ethics and sustainability. Ethics and sustainability now appears in every single exam, and it often comprises around 7 to 10% of the marks. Ethics wasn't as big a thing as when I was studying, and sustainability definitely wasn't either. That's very new, but these two topic areas, since I've been teaching the material, have become more and more prominent. Ethics and sustainability are very repetitive areas of the curriculum. They seem to be very similar across all of the different exams. The concepts that are tested seem to be quite similar, and they're examined in similar ways, even in different exams. And also, I think they're relatively straightforward areas. They're not very technical, but candidates do tend to neglect them. That's my experience anyway. So don't assume you're just going to pick up the easy ethics and sustainability marks. Actually study the ethics material and the sustainability material and get comfortable. Do lots of questions, understand how these different concepts are tested, because it's definitely going to come up. Ethics and sustainability will come up in some guise, in some format, every single ACA exam. So do questions, read that area of the curriculum, because I can guarantee you it's going to be tested in the exam you're studying towards. Even just reading mark scheme answers, whether it's at the certificate level or at the professional or advanced level, for ethics questions can really help you ace this section, because you'll get a feeling for how the examiner wants you to answer and think about these kind of questions and topics. In my opinion, ethics and sustainability is an easy way to bank marks. Some of the areas in this qualification are incredibly technical and incredibly challenging. Ethics and sustainability is not one of those areas. So if you can bank, let's just say 10%, a full 10% on an ethics and sustainability section in a certificate level paper, that means you only need to get 45% elsewhere to pass. So don't neglect these areas. I know they seem quite trivial and they're not particularly interesting or fun, but it's guaranteed to come up, and if you do well in it, that could be the difference between a pass or a fail, and it will give you the edge over other candidates. My next piece of advice to doing well on the qualification is to utilise your mornings effectively. If you're juggling the ACA with full-time work, like pretty much all of you are going to be, using your early mornings to study is a really, really good and effective use of your time. I used to wake up at 6 a.m. 2 to 3 times a week before work and got in around 2 to 3 hours of high quality study. It works because you're not going to get any emails from work, you're not going to have any clients disturbing you and sending you requests at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. They have lives over there. There's no distractions, there's no social media to look at that time, there's nothing on TV. And your brain is fresh. First thing in the morning, I always found that I had most clarity and I was able to study more challenging concepts because I felt fresher, I hadn't got a day's work behind me. So even if you just get up a little bit earlier, 2 to 3 times a week or 4 times a week, that's an extra 6 to 9 hours of solid studying you can get in. You can even say try doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, get up before work, carve out a few extra hours to study, and that could just give you the edge you need to pass a particular exam you're struggling with or pass a retake. Use your mornings effectively. Something I found super helpful when I was studying towards the qualification. Your mornings are a kind of one of those areas which I always thought of a little bit of dead time, but you can really do some high quality studying during that period, and it will save you a little bit of time in the evening where you can go out and socialise and enjoy yourself after work. I used to hate coming back after work and sort of think about studying for 3-4 hours in the evening every night. If you do that in the morning, get it out of the way, then you have your evenings to do stuff that you actually want to do with your life, or free up more time in your evenings to do more studying if you're that way inclined. So yeah, I definitely found that studying in the mornings gave me a little bit of an edge, and it's something that really worked for me. So yeah, maybe it'll work for you guys as well. My penultimate piece of advice to doing well on the ACA is to stay calm under pressure. These exams are incredibly stressful and incredibly time pressured. You're going to feel overwhelmed in certain exams at certain times along your journey. Everyone feels that way. I definitely felt that way. There were certain exams that I sat in where I felt like I knew nothing, I didn't know what was going on, I didn't know what the question was asking me, and I felt like I was going to panic. I remember I had a mini panic attack during the BPT exam because the question was so long and was so dense with information, I had no idea how to answer it. And I lost just 10 minutes just panicking and doing nothing. Luckily, I still passed with a high mark, but the point is that if you're struggling with an exam and you're struggling with a particular question, everyone else is going to be feeling the exact same way. People do tons of prep for this and still struggle. So if you freeze up in an exam, slow down, take a breath for a moment, start writing something down. Even just jotting down some notes will help calm your nerves. I always found that once I got words down on the page and in the software, everything started to become a little bit easier. It's really common to find these exams very stressful. So if you're feeling that way, you're not alone. Everyone feels the exact same way. But I would definitely plan for stressful moments or even mini panic attacks in the exam. Have a strategy in place, even practice it during your mocks. If you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed in the exam, like I said, just sit back, take a breath, read through the question one more time, and just start to write stuff down. It could be meaningless stuff, it could be waffle, but I always found that when I was making progress in the exam, I started to feel a little bit more relaxed. Whereas when I was doing nothing and I was stressing, the stress kind of compounded and things just got worse. Try and move forward, try and make progress in your exam if you are feeling a little bit stressed out, because it will make you feel a lot better. And just remember, everyone's feeling the exact same way as you are. So don't let stress derail your exam or your qualification. Even if you lose 5 minutes to a little bit of panicking in the exam, you've got plenty of time to recover. Some of the professional and advanced level exams are 3.5, 4 hours long. So if you lose 5 minutes, it's not a big deal. Trust me, lots of other people in the room will be doing the exact same thing as you are. And my final piece of advice to doing well on the ACA is to let go of perfectionism. I used to obsess over everything on the ACA qualification. I wanted to get every mark, every presentation mark. I wanted to make sure my balance sheet always balanced. I wanted to get every single thing right. I wanted to get 100%. But obviously, one thing that's very different about the ACA compared to A-levels, university degrees, is the fact that you don't need to get anywhere near 100% to pass. In the certificate level, you only need 55%, and then in some of the advanced level papers, you need 50%. So you just need half or just over half. So let go of that perfectionism, because you don't get any reward for getting a super high mark. All you need to be aiming for in these exams is 55%, getting the pass mark and moving on to the next one. So what I always did was, if I was in an exam and I got to a question and I didn't know an answer, particularly in the longer format, professional level and advanced level exams, if I didn't know something, I would make up an assumption and just move on. The ACA is great at awarding you follow-through marks, so again, you don't need to get every single thing right. If you don't know one step to a calculation, you can just make something up and move on to the next step, and you'll be awarded follow-through marks if your methodology is correct. ACA, again, is great at helping you out if you don't know every single step of a calculation or a piece of analysis. So even if one assumption within your calculation is wrong, you can still get the majority of the marks if your methodology and mechanics is correct. So don't get bogged down by trying to recall every single accounting rule, tax rule, legal rule in your exams. Just focus on the big picture and focus on making progress through your calculations and your workings, because again, you don't need to get 100% to qualify as an ACA chartered accountant. You just need to get the 55%, which is just over half. So yeah, let go of that perfectionism. Cool. So yeah, that's my advice, having been through the qualification and passed all the exams at the first attempt. My final thoughts on passing every exam at the first attempt, whether it's that important or not. Look, if you can pass first time, amazing. It does look good to employers. Employers do like it. It also saves you time and stress because you don't have to sit retakes. And it can make you feel more confident if you're getting through the exams one by one and passing them all first time. Naturally, you're going to feel a bit better about the qualification. You're going to feel more confident going into the next exam. But what I would say is, if you do fail a paper, it's not really the end of the world. It's pretty common for candidates to fail an ACA exam. More than 50% of ACA candidates do fail an exam on their journey, so more fail than don't. So I wouldn't say it's that big a deal. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Loads of people Loads of people do fail multiple exams and go on to have very successful careers and do lots of amazing things and work in really interesting roles across the profession. So it's not really that big a deal. I would say just keep going, stay consistent, and you'll get there in the end. Like I said, if you have to fail 1 or 2 exams along your journey, it's perfectly normal. Cool, thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, please feel free to fire them off in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer them. If you like the video, please smash the like button and consider subscribing. I'm making tons of videos about the ACA and the ACA qualifications. Again, I look at things on a more holistic level, and I also do deeper dives into each of the exams that you face on the qualification. So yeah, if you are studying towards it, it'd be great to have you along for the course of your journey, and I'll see you guys in the next video.